What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday, and this is the Daily Fantasy MLB show, InsidersTV, sponsored by FantasyElite, the app that you can get in the Apple Store and what you can draft on. Davis took me to school twice last night.
Well, the first game I didn't take you to school.
So that was fun, but I do want to basically say congratulations to Drew Dinkmeyer. If you missed the show yesterday, he put on 13 shirts and took them off one at a time. And it's kind of funny because
he won 13 championship seats last night.
Yeah, he won the DSBC and he won the DraftKings. Our buddy Loves Bases won the
And Dink would have won that seat if Chris Young either would have gotten 2 less at-bats or, walked at some point.
Yeah.
Instead of going 0 for 5.
Well, you also have Tuttle, who was real close to there as well. He needed a few things. I think he finished third.
Yeah, he went David Price. He went David Price over Strasburg. So
second. And so it's funny, though, because Drew wore the show yesterday, or wore the shirt yesterday, and then I logged on. And if you notice, everyone has the FI shirt going on, even myself. So we all have the FI shirt going on. So trying to bring ourselves.
I had my standard Ralph Lauren V-neck on, and then I saw everyone else was wearing it, and I was like, well, got to match.
Yeah. So we're trying to basically make sure that we do our part. And hopefully, Kyle Cannon got his shirt, wore it right before the Linus Lock last week. He, won a qualifier and everything else on DraftKings. And Drew last night. So maybe tonight could be that night. Anyways, want to introduce the guys that need no introduction. Mr. Tuttle, 05, co-founder of Fantasy Insiders. And then Davis Maddock, the senior writer for the Fantasy Insiders. And then Derek Carty, our MLB guy for Fantasy Insiders. So, guys, how's your Wednesday going? Did you play any early-only games?
Oh, yeah. Have to do it when the A's are facing a bad pitcher.
It's bad for me, though. I went with the whole Bumgarner Teheran route on DraftKings. So I'm out of it already. And I had the $200 left over, so I decided just to randomly, because I had $200 left over, go from Jaso to Derek Norris.
Why?
So, just because I wanted to, because I had $200 over. There was no logical explanation behind it.
The king of A's catchers was wanting to know why.
No, I understand playing. I think I've played Jaso or Norris in my catcher slot in FanDuel every single day for the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I know.
And it works out. Jaso has been incredible. He's hit 3 home runs in the last 5 days.
And DraftKings just refuses to increase their price too much.
He's still Jaso is still $3K on FanDuel.
Yeah.
He can't. I don't know. I just feel honestly, not playing them is a mistake.
Yeah,
not playing Garrett Richards was a mistake.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it.
No, and I wanted to use him because he throws hard and everything, but then I was like, it's Bumgarner versus the Braves. All they do is strike out. But I should have known that when Pasternicky was in the lineup for Ugla, that removing that automatic out should have been enough for me to want to get on Richards.
Yeah. We'll get into the games here. Obviously, there's not a ton of games. We'll get into the games. I do want to tell people that in about 30 minutes, we'll have what everyone's basically tuning in for with the ugly slate of games today, and that is the Young Kaiser's tweets of the week. You don't want to miss it. Young Kaiser has had some good ones.
Kind of poor planning by FanDuel to start this big Survivor tournament on such a gross day.
Oh my gosh, there's gonna be so much overlay on that thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there is?
There's 3. It's overlaying by 2,500 right now.
Yeah, but people. Some of these sharks are going to be putting 100 entries in a piece.
Yeah, but if you look through the entry list, a lot of people already have put in a ton, though. A lot of the big names that you normally see.
I would
Red Wings
absolutely
has 50, Smiz has quite a bit.
Yeah,
I would
just
love
think they're
to be
going to
able to do
max
that.
out. Those guys are going to max out, and you'll get. Toto, what's your number of where it lands, basically?
I think 4-2.
Yeah, I would say anywhere from 4-2 to 4-5. So you're talking about not a ton overlay, but Dan was.
If
I
it
saw
overlays
DB,
by like 800 entries, I might even buy some extra
Well,
ones.
the top 3,966 advance. This isn't your typical 50-50 survivor.
Yeah.
So if it overlays where you only have to beat 300 players out to make it to the next round, that's pretty significant.
And it's like DB was talking about with a survivor game. Sometimes people just forget on certain days or have stuff come up and they forget to set their lineup. Especially like Davis, you were saying on a Wednesday, it seems odd to start it because it's not like tomorrow's any better on a Thursday. Thursdays are ugly slates of games too, and then you've got the weekend, so it's going to be.
I'm done, man. I don't have to do anything but play fantasy baseball for the next 3 months. I'm so stoked.
Dink brings up a good point about the tournament too, in that you have to advance like 5 rounds before you get any money. So if you're cash strapped or your account's looking very slim, you probably don't want to enter it just because your money's going to be tied up for a while.
Yeah.
I think I looked ahead and it's like June 2nd is when you finally make it to the cut to get paid money if you make it that far. So if it's something that you're hurting for money in your account, you probably don't want to pay it because it's going to be tied up for a while.
Bumgarner is harshing my mellow right now. My lineup started off so good, like
Speaking of mellow,
Jaso and Beckham Dong to start off the inning for both of their teams, and I have those guys. I was like, oh, I'm going to cash no problem. It's going to be a great day. And then Bumgarner comes out and gives up 2 earned runs in the first inning, so now I have to sweat these early onlys, which is annoying.
I tell you, the Braves are not as easy a matchup as people think they are.
Oh, don't get me started on easy matchups, Derek Carty. How about the Houston Astros?
What about?
Such a sick stack versus Harrison yesterday.
Yeah.
Davis, you should have tweeted something out to let us know that you called Astros.
yeah, I couldn't find it on here.
I only tweeted 2 things. I mostly let that be, and I didn't even tweet about being mad about LJ Hose either. So I'm getting better.
Well, Drew said Dallas Keuchel for the win. So he basically wants some.
I was the one who mentioned Keuchel on the show yesterday.
Yeah, but Drew wants the Keuchel love. He said that because he wants to be acknowledged. I know him.
I
Is
think
there a
Drew,
reason why we're pronouncing it like Keuchel?
Yeah,
That's
Dave,
what I call him, Keuchel.
Yeah. Well, let's start talking about actual baseball today, though. That seems like a good idea, since no one really cares about what happened yesterday. As far as weather goes, I think the San Diego-Cincinnati game, is that the one that's threatened as of right now, Tuttle?
Yeah, and St. Louis as well. St. Louis, Chicago. So 2 of what you would probably think of on paper as the top pitchers tonight, they're looking threatened as far as rain. It looks like you're probably going to want to stay away from the Cardinals game, which a lot of people were probably trying to target Waka. And then you also want to stay away from that Reds game.
You think people are still trying to target Michael Waka, despite how meh he's been skill-wise this year?
Yeah, there's still people. I mean, if you look at tonight's slate, I guess, you have 3 guys that you probably take in between as far as the top end for starting pitcher, and then you might be taking a gamble on Nick Tepesh. So I think Waka was still a target for some people tonight.
Okay, well, including those rain games, I think the number 1 option tonight is going to be Tanaka. I think you got to do it against a Mets team that strikes out like crazy. Honestly, on a 1-pitcher side, I think the conversation begins and ends there. Are you on board with that, Cardi?
Absolutely. Tanaka's easily the best guy today. He doesn't have to face the DH. He gets a little bit of an improvement with the park. He's up against a terrible Mets offense that strikes out a lot. McCann is in the lineup, so yeah, I'm all about Tanaka.
Are you on Tanaka, Tuttle?
For sure. And Derek brings up a good point, and he does this a lot with his articles too. But it's something that people need to take into consideration more often is when you have an AL pitcher coming over to pitch at an NL park, he pretty much gets that free out, which he doesn't get most of the time when he's pitching. So that's
Yeah, so, like,
something to really take into consideration.
Yeah, like all his baseline stats, which are affecting his price, are based on facing 9 legitimate hitters. Now he gets to face 8. So, I mean, there's just built-in value right there.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's. I mean, obviously, it didn't help Strasburg last night as Cy Arroyo was 2 for 2. But and I also think that something that we don't talk about enough is lineup construction and the lineup that a pitcher is facing. But basically, like yesterday, Dink talked about Arroyo being in a decent spot because all of the Nationals hitters were left-handed. So like paying attention to like platoon advantages, specifically towards the top of the order. But I don't think we need to really talk that much about Tanaka. I think he is a pretty obvious play as far as pitchers go, especially on FanDuel. Like, I really think you're just locking him in. But there are some secondary options, and you're going to have to get a little bit creative today because Cueto and Waka and Ian Kennedy, who would have been options, are not probably going to be pitching today. So where are you guys going at for your secondary option? Like, I have my guy that I like, but I'm interested to hear your second option, Tuttle.
I think if I'm going down from Tanaka, it actually probably is going to be Nick Tepesch for the Rangers. I like it sets up well. Obviously, he's got a good matchup, even though the Astros did put up some runs last night. But another thing that I like with the scenario he's going into is that Ranger bullpen's just absolutely taxed. The last 2 games, they've had to spend some bullpen arms on long relief, both of the last 2 games. So he's going to they're probably going to ride him a little longer than they would a normal call-up. So I think he's got that going for him. He's got a good matchup, really good price on across the industry where he's available. So I think he's going to be my second pitcher on DraftKings almost for sure.
Yeah, I'm loving the Tanaka Tepesch pairing tonight on DraftKings. I think Tepesch is in a really good spot. He's a guy that I think a lot of people may overlook. I mean, he's making his first start of the year tonight, but he was like pretty good last year, at least peripherals wise, in a pretty solid sample size. He's been really good at AAA this year. I mean, the stuff isn't going to blow you away, but he has 5 pitches. He knows how to use them, and I think he's got pretty good command of them. So I think Tepesch is a good play tonight against the Astros.
Yeah, he doesn't have. I mean, I guess with the opponent, but he's not a high K guy at all, right, Cardi?
He's not a high K guy, but he's also not a low K guy. I mean, he could be a slightly above average K pitcher.
Okay, well, that kind of interests me that you guys both said Tepesch because, I mean, obviously, like the guy that I looked at right away for a secondary option was Willie Peralta versus Pittsburgh, a team that their best hitters strike out a lot, and that honestly, outside of Alvarez, Walker, and McCutchen, like that's not a lineup that terrifies you in terms of anything. And if I'm not mistaken, they don't have. Well, no, I guess because Alvarez and Walker hit well from the left side of the plate, it's not fair to say that he'll have a significant platoon advantage throughout the lineup. But are you guys on Peralta at all?
A little bit, not as much as Tepesch. Pittsburgh is fairly lefty heavy. They have Snyder, Walker, Alvarez, and Ike.
But yeah, Harrison has been playing over Snyder lately, even against righties, which is weird.
Snyder's leading off tonight.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Peralta's decent, but I think the thing you also have to take into consideration with Pittsburgh's offense is that even though their overall numbers aren't that impressive, they're playing in a super pitcher's park, and now they're going into a super hitter's park. So when you account for that, the offense isn't quite as bad as you may think it is. I mean, Jordy Mercer, Chris Stewart, Francisco Liriano, bottom third of the order, obviously is terrible. But I don't think Pittsburgh is like awful.
Okay, yeah, I mean that makes sense. I just think
Peralta's definitely an option for sure.
Yeah, and then I mean on the other side, we are either one of you on Liriano at all, like specifically as a tournament option.
No, I mean, I love Liriano in general, but Milwaukee is so righty heavy. Liriano kind of has some platoon issues of his own. He's going into an extreme hitter's park. I think it could be a troublesome night for Liriano, unfortunately, because I have him in a couple expert leagues.
Yeah, I'm not. There's no way I'm running Liriano out in any cash game lineups or anything close to that. But I think it sets up an interesting question strategy-wise, because Liriano struggled somewhat so far to start the year. So I actually know and have seen a lot of write-ups out there on people that are actually wanting to target Liriano with their hitters, which I wouldn't do. So I think you're going to have a few guys out there, with like Lucroy and Weeks in their lineups. So I think it would be interesting to target Liriano in some GPPs just to bank off him getting those guys out, put you at an advantage right away. But then the matchup is bad, but he doesn't have to deal with Carlos Gomez leading off, which certainly helps. He'll have Elian Herrera, who's leading off. So that helps quite a bit. And if you look at that lineup, although it is all righty heavy, it's really not very good, to be honest.
I think it's pretty solid lineup.
It's not bad. I mean, you get Braun, Lucroy, which is solid, and Reynolds will give you power. But other than that, I mean, you're looking at.
I think Segura's good. I think he's underperforming. I think Chris Davis is okay. Weeks isn't bad. I mean, I don't think it's a bad lineup. The one thing Liriano does have going for him, though, is that Chris Stewart is healthy and back now, and he's in the lineup tonight. And he is like a superb pitch framer. So.
Okay. And then the one other guy that I wanted to mention was and we're gonna let Cardi put his scout school cap on and tell us about Rafael Montero for the Mets.
Montero's not a guy that I'm going to be playing tonight because the matchup is terrible against the Yankees. But Montero he's an interesting guy. He throws, he throws in the low 90s. He's got a slider that's decent. He's got a changeup that's pretty good. The change was better than the slider, but slider is still kind of a work in progress a little bit. He's got pretty good command of everything, though. That's one of the things. Even though his stuff, he doesn't throw hard or have a wipeout secondary pitch. He's got command of the pitches and he knows how to use them. So I mean, he could end up being a mid-rotation starter at some point. Just tonight in his major league debut, I don't see him really being an option.
Okay, all right. Would you go as far as saying that targeting Yankees hitters against him would be a good option then? Especially because the Mets bullpen is taxed right now.
Yeah, I think it's an okay option. It's not one of the best, but it's definitely something I could see doing, especially since the Yankees do have quite a few lefty bats.
All right. Are any of these other guys interesting to you, Tuttle? I really didn't see much in terms of pitching today.
No, I know there's some people, and we have a question about Dubront, and I'll let Cardi touch on that because he actually did write him up tonight. So some people are asking about Dubront. I don't know if I'd go in that direction, but I'll let Cardi answer that one.
Dubront's risky, but he's super cheap, especially on I think Draft Street. He's like 7,000 or 8,000, super cheap. The Minnesota Twins offense isn't very good. He's getting a bit of a park boost going into Target Field. The Twins have I don't know. I mean, he has a platoon advantage against some of the guys that you really care about, against Mauer and against Parmalee, and Kubal's not even in the lineup tonight. So basically he has to deal with Dozier and Plouffe and Kurt Suzuki. I mean, it's not like there's a lot of really, really heavy hitters that are going to be, getting the platoon advantage against them tonight. So I think in GPPs, I think he's fine to throw in there as your second or third pitcher.
Okay, I have a quick question about that game. Did Trevor Plouffe just come off the DL or something? I just saw that he was in the lineup, and that's a name that I haven't seen all year, or if I just not been paying attention.
I think you haven't been paying attention. I've got him.
Yeah, he's been playing really well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I have him in my one AL only expert league, and he's been,
all right. Cool.
Been doing well.
Yeah, that's what not playing seasonal will do. I had no idea, but I just saw that he was batting out of the 3-hole. All right, well, I mean, that really should do it for pitchers. There's not a whole lot to talk about as far as pitching goes tonight, unless either one of you wanted to mention anything else.
No, I think that pretty much covers the guys that I'd be looking at. I think the Tanaka Tepish play is the way to go.
Yeah, and I will be doing Tanaka and Peralta. And then on Draft Street, I'll probably use Tepish as my third guy, since both of you guys are on him.
Okay, I'll give one more. I think Paul Mahalam is a decent contrarian GPP play tonight also. I mean, the peripherals are terrible this year, but the matchup is good. I still think he's a decent pitcher. He's up against another guy who's making his major league debut tonight, and he's not as good as Montero is. So I think Maholm's a decent play.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then I'm gonna turn it over to Kitchen then, because he's got something for everybody.
What's that?
The Young Kaiser tweet of the week.
No. Keep on going.
Keep on going. All right. Well, then we can just, since there's really not that much to talk about as far as pitching goes, we'll go to hitters early, because pitching is pretty simple today. But on a day like this, because there is going to be a lot of overlap in terms of pitching, we can spend some extra time on the hitters, because getting your hitters right tonight is obviously going to be important. So let's start off with stacks, and I'll let Tuttle go first.
All right, let me get my list open here.
All right, and I'm sending you an elite challenge right now.
Ooh,
all right, sounds good. I think all of us have decided, we're running to knockout on FanDuel for the most part. So I think if you're wanting to get a stack to go with Tanaka that are going to have some cheaper bats in it, my pick would be the Indians. They have the high, they're in the highest over
Son
under.
of a bitch stole mine.
You got the highest over under of the night in a really good hitters environment. They're going to get all 9 plate appearances because they're the away team. So if you're looking for some cheaper bats that you can stack, I would definitely go with the Indians as my top choice.
Yeah, I love the Indians. They're getting a big park shift tonight going into the Rogers Center. McGowan's kind of pitching for his life because he's not good. But if I have to give you another stack, I think either the Dodgers or the Red Sox look good tonight. I'll go either one, really. I think either one you could put together a good mini stack from. The Dodgers are up against this guy. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. Desclafani.
No one knows.
Yeah, he's basically his upside is a back of the rotation pitcher. Once he reaches his peak, so he's really nothing to worry about. Throws in the low 90s, questionable secondary stuff. There's not a lot to really like about him. So I think some LA lefties. You go Agon, you go D. Gordon, Ethier, Crawford, whoever's in the lineup of those two. I think you can put together a good little mini stack there.
Okay, yeah, I think the team that I really don't think much of Dubront as a pitcher. I think on Draft Street or somewhere where you could get in a couple pricey pitchers, I do not mind stacking Twins at all, especially using Dozier, using Plouffe. Just some obviously not the bottom of the order guys are just such bad hitters that you don't need to use them, so it would be more of a mini stack than anything else. But I don't mind going that direction at all.
Throw like Pinto into there, or even Suzuki. I mean, it's not a bad option. Dubront has plenty of risk, and Minnesota could definitely get to him. So,
all right. Well, we can start talking about some catchers then. That's a good little transition. So you would not hate Pinto tonight?
No, I wouldn't hate him. I don't think he'd be at the top of my list, but he'd definitely be on it. I think Carlos Santana, wherever he qualifies, a catcher still. I think AJ Pierzynski has a good matchup tonight. A little bit of a park boost. Going from Fenway into Target against Kevin Correa, who's not particularly good. I think McCann is actually an option. He's probably one of the few Yankees I'd be looking at just because catcher is a little more scarce than other positions. And then I think Pinto and Suzuki are guys that also would be, on my radar.
Okay. What about you, Tuttle?
That more or less covers it at the catching position. I'm just happy that you just auto-drafted on FantasyElite so that I get Masahiro Tanaka as my number 1 pick.
Damn it.
And you picked Carlos Gomez as your number 1.
All right, well,
so,
good game, Tuttle.
I was just sleeping on that, hoping that would actually happen. And it did. And then I accidentally picked Pedro Alvarez as my second pick.
I don't want Carlos Gomez. He's the worst.
He's not even playing
He's
tonight,
hurt.
so it doesn't matter. You'll have to use that late swap.
Oh, this is gonna be a nightmare.
But yeah, just to reiterate, Derek, I think that if you can play Carlos Santana at catcher position, I think he's a solid play. And the next in line would probably be Pierzynski for me. So it's Not to not just to beat a dead horse, but those are pretty much the
there's
top
not a lot of
options.
catcher tonight aside from those kind of guys.
Are either one? I mean, I know you guys both said that you like Tepish, but would either one of you play Castro in a cash game?
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but I don't think you have to. I think Santana or Przinsky or Pinto is fine to go with instead.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Santana or Przinsky personally.
On FanDuel, Santana is third base, so.
Well, then
Which is
give me
what-
Przinsky.
Cool.
Boom.
Cool, Tuttle.
Masahiro Tanaka on Team
Yep.
Tuttle tonight.
Yep.
That's right.
Damn it. All right, well, let's move on. Let's just continue up the middle, though. Second base. I think a guy that we talk about, it seems that we talk about him almost every show. For whatever reason, I guess because he's a lefty, he has the platoon advantage, like, rather often. But I just love D. Gordon, especially against pitchers who aren't very good. And I guess I don't know anything about this Marlins guy, but I'm assuming that a guy who wasn't good enough to make the Marlins starting rotation out of spring training is probably not super great at pitching. So am I wrong to like D. Gordon tonight, Tuttle?
No, I don't think so. With his base stealing ability, I think anytime there's a right-hander on the mound, he deserves consideration as long as he's priced at a point where you can play him. Like on FanDuel, I think you can still fit him in at 3,900. But on DraftKings and some other sites, his price is creeping up to the point where he might be unplayable because really his value only does come with stolen bases. So like on DraftKings, he's 5,000. That's borderline for me. If I can fit him in, I might fit him in, but I'm not gonna force him into my lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's probably fair.
I like Gordon. I mean, I don't think DeSclafani is anything special. I think Salty, we don't have a Miami lineup yet, but assuming Salty's catching, he's below average in terms of throwing out runners. So if Gordon does get on base, I think there's a decent chance, he'll be able to swipe one. So I think Gordon's a good play where the price tag warrants it.
All right. Other second baseman you guys want to talk about? Cardi?
Yeah, there's probably a couple others. Let's see. I like Matt Carpenter, where he's qualifying at second still. Against Jason Hamill tonight is a pretty solid play. Brian Dozier, I mean, even though I kind of like Dubron, I think Dozier is a decent play against him. Odor, I think, is a good punt play against Feldman tonight. So those are my second base guys.
Tuttle?
Boom! Just got Ryan Braun from in price against you. Domination.
He's going over 4.
Okay. Second base. Speaking of the Brewers, even though I don't really want to target against Liriano, Weeks is betting the 2-hole. Put some good swings on the ball over the weekend. So I think he's possible, especially if he's super cheap. He's not super cheap on FanDuel. I don't know what his price is on DraftKings. Looks like he's 3,000 on DraftKings. That's definitely a playable price there. Another guy, if you want to pick on Dubron a little bit, I wouldn't have any problems going with Brian Dozier, who's leading off.
That's who I'm trying to decide between Dozier and D. Gordon right now. And on DraftKings, where I can play Gordon at short, I think I really want to get Dozier, and I really don't think Dubron is very good, like at all.
Yeah,
So,
and I mean the only thing I need to check what the weather's like. Make sure it's not too cold. It looks like it's 50s in Minnesota, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I mean Dozier can provide you more than he's not going to steal, but he provides you.
No, Dozier steals bags.
Well, he's not going to steal off a lefty, but he'll provide you power, whereas D. Gordon's basically the exact opposite.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that should about do it for second base then. Shortstops. Shortstop is really ugly tonight. Like, really, really ugly. Like, I think the best option is like Asdrubal Cabrera, and he's like so meh. Asdrubal Cabrera is so meh.
That's why you go Hanley.
Hanley?
Yeah, I think he is far and away the top shortstop option tonight.
It's hard to do if you're spending on Tanaka, though.
It is. That's why it's going to come down to lineup construction. That's why you're going to have to probably fit in some of those Cleveland bats. And Yeah, Esdrúm was not a bad Cleveland bat to fit in.
Hey, you know who's really cheap? Astros bats. Astros bats are so cheap.
It's not a battle you want to fight.
No, the Astros. I'm not going back to the well on that one. Yeah, I don't hate Cabrera tonight though. I just don't have enough money in any of my lineups to spend on Hanley, so I don't think that's a direction that I'm going.
Yeah, I think Cabrera is going to be pretty much a mainstay in my lineups tonight.
Yeah. God, today's slate is ugly. It's like not even normally like when the slate is ugly, we have something to disagree about. But I'm also like super delirious because I studied until like 2 a.m. last night and had a final at 7:30. So I'm pretty sleepy. So I like don't have enough fight in me to argue with one of you guys, and I don't have a super ridiculous stance to take today either for you guys to attack, which is always upsetting.
Well, it would have been more fun if we had Cueto and Waka still in play. Especially Cueto, he makes things a little more, decisions a little more tough.
Well, because I probably would have stuck with Tanaka. Well, I don't know what I would have done. It's a good question. I never thought of it. I just ruled Cueto out right away. Kitchen, do you want to do tweet of the week before we move on to the corner spots?
Oh yeah. And now it is time for the Young Kaiser tweets of the week. I will be doing the dramatic reading, as only I can do. We want to start off with an experience that Young Kaiser had. I'm sure you've had one as well. He says, hate to tweet this out, but I just walked in on someone whipping their butt. No a pretty sight. Hashtag lock door peoples.
I missed that one. That's a pretty solid one.
Is that it? That's all you got?
No,
Kitchen?
we're just now starting.
Just starting.
We are just now starting. So
I like how you pronounce the misspelled words.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
that's definitely
that is definitely the misspelling. You don't try to correct it. You just go with the flow of the misspelling.
That's definitely going to be it. Okay, number 2. Man, you ever been in a car full of people and had to fart holding your holding your butt cheeks so tight it brings tears to your eyes? That was number 2. Number 3.
Awesome.
Number 3. This is after Small Dog, our buddy Small Dog, had a baby, and Richard Kaiser, our buddy Young Kaiser, gives some advice. He says, "Nice. Make sure it comes out feet first." Hashtag safe. Congrats. So he's a man of many talents. Giving medical advice is just one thing that he does. The next one. This was after he asked for one time, and Tuttle can attest.
Oh my gosh.
That he uses the one time. Like, I just need this to happen one time. So this was after he asked for one time for Miggy. Miggy went off. Tuttle tweeted him the daily home runs account that said Miguel Cabrera 2-out 3-run home run. And so then you have this little gem. And the Lord said, Jesus one time, let's go.
I think that is my least favorite thing ever is when people misuse the one time.
Oh, he is.
Oh, he definitely
an abuser of the
he
one
definitely
time.
abuses the one time.
I don't hold very many things sacred, but the one time is definitely one of those things. Like you can't abuse because then it loses its powers and you say it and it doesn't mean anything.
The next one. This one is a pretty good one. He said, got my alarm set for 12 so I can go take a fake beep and finish my lineups, keeping it hood. And for those that might not know, it is a trick that the Daily Fantasy pros use. They act like they're going to the bathroom, whether it be work or family events, and really they're going to set their lineup. So that is...
What do? Take the laptop to the shitter with them?
Oh, yeah, I've done it before. Or you have just your phone.
Who can set lineups? I remember one time, on Christmas Day, I was driving with my family down to Oklahoma. It was all those NBA games, and I set 25 GPP lineups on Draft Street on my phone. And Draft Street has by far the worst mobile interface, too. And I was after that, I was just like, never again. Never, ever again will I do this to myself. I am done on the phone forever.
Oh, man. You forgot the... Oh, are you still going?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. You better have the Mother's Day tweet in there, too. That's a solid one.
I don't know if I do have the Mother's Day tweet.
I'll say it after you do.
Okay. He says, seeing them 10 runs from Blue Jays just got me horny. And don't know why, because I don't have any players.
I remember that tweet. That was a good one.
Oh, the next one. And this might be one of the top ones other than the Mother's Day. I don't know if I remember the Mother's Day one, but
this is good.
He says he's giving medical advice again. And he says, I did it before, and it works. Dips a piss in the ear, pain gone immediately.
And he was giving advice on how to get rid of ear infection.
Yeah, that was his earache. And the one that he just sent, that I have no clue, this is like we needed an interpreter for, maybe he can get in there, is this one right here. He says, why am I planogramming 36 feet of tampons? How many different types of a JJ's is out there? My boy Tommy G will know this answer. I have no clue. I have no clue what that means. Again, I'll read it again. Why am I planogramming 36 feet of tampons? How many different types of a JJ's is out there? My boy Tommy G will know this answer. Not even context clues lets me know what that first part of the sentence was. So, Tuttle, did you have another one that you would like to read?
Where did it go? It was apparently a Mother's Day one, and it was really good. Never again will I go to a flower store for roses again. Came to grocery store, got a dozen of roses for $8.99. Woo!
I did see that. See, he's like a man of so many different talents. Oh gosh, I mean, this is what he is definitely a good follow at Young Kaiser 740. It will keep you entertained with his medical, his economical tweets.
We got a translation from Alf is Real.
What did he say
in the chat? Planogramming is creating shelf layouts in retail of merchandise. Damn, so Young Kaiser was actually bringing some smarts to us.
There's no way that's actually what it was.
No, yeah, okay, so it makes sense. It makes sense, because he says, why am I planogramming 36 feet?
So he's in the store. Okay, alright, I get it now.
That makes it even better thinking about Young Kaiser organizing the different tampons.
Now that is the best tweet. Oh gosh.
Oh gosh.
There's no way that's what it meant.
Yes, it is. It has to be. 36
No,
feet.
it was a typo.
No, he didn't spell How do you have a typo on planogramming?
You ever tweeted on an iPhone, man? It'll tell you shit that you've never heard of. It'll start tweeting in a different language, dude.
Oh, gosh.
iPhone autocorrect is not native. I don't know how we can talk about first baseman and like keep the audience entertained.
No, Dink says that's his profession though. That's actually what he does. He's a merchandiser.
Shit, well...
And that is the Young Kaiser's Tweets of the Week. Sponsored by Playtex. Now on to you, Davis.
Well, I guess we have to talk about first baseman now. I guess that has to be something that we do. So, I mean, honestly, like, I kind of just saw it, and I was like, Kevin Correa. Well, guess we're doing Ortiz, since none of the sites want to make him as pricey as the other big first baseman. So is Ortiz kind of the guy at the top of your list, Cardi?
Yeah, for sure. Ortiz is at the top. I think Agon is up there. Matt Adams, I think, is a good play. Ike Davis is a decent play for cheaper. Teixeira, maybe. Yeah, I think those are where I'm looking.
Tuttle, Ortiz?
Yep, Ortiz. He's, I think, only 100 more than Agon.
Yeah.
I think I'd take him in that situation on FanDuel, no doubt. It's a tougher decision. He's 400 more on DraftKings than Agon. I think you have a decision there with that.
Yeah, especially if, I mean, like, every dollar counts when you're taking the really expensive pitchers. You really have to be economical with your decisions, or find a punt that you're really in love with. I didn't see any first basemen that were worth punting on tonight, though.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, we already got advice for third base in the chat. We just say Juan Francisco and then move on. That's what Macho Hombre Sports in that's what he wants us to do. And I mean, dude, the fat guy just keeps hitting dongs. Like, he just keeps hitting. The only thing that I would have to say there is I have a little bit of respect for Corey Kluber as a pitcher. He's definitely a high K guy and limits what some guys are able to do, I think. I don't know. Are you guys on Juan Francisco tonight?
Not particularly, because I do think Kluber's a really good pitcher. I mean, he's playing in the Rogers Center. He's got the platoon advantage, so he's an option. But I don't know. I think against Kluber, it's kind of a tough matchup. I like Santana, where he's at third base, and Chisenhall a little bit. As part of that Cleveland stack. I think Pedro Alvarez is a pretty good play tonight. He's getting a huge park shift. I think Matt Carpenter, where he's a third baseman, is a good play tonight. So that's where I am.
Yeah, I like Pedro quite a bit tonight as well. I think for me it's probably going to be between Carlos Santana or Pedro Alvarez. Alvarez obviously facing the better pitcher, but like Derek noted, he's got the park shift in his favor. And he hasn't produced yet this year, but he's actually seeing the ball better, is evidenced by an increased walk rate this year. So I think it's only a matter of time before he starts getting the ball, getting a little more luck with some of the balls he hits in play.
Yeah, I think third base is gross tonight too. It's just one of those things that happens when you have like a shorter slate of games. It's hard to find options that you're in love with, and there's just not a whole lot there. Do either one of you like Beltre against Feldman tonight?
Not really. I mean, it's okay, but I think especially if you're going expensive on Tanaka, I don't know. I don't think you necessarily need to go for Beltre. The matchup's only okay.
What about my boy Matt Dominguez versus Tepish?
No.
No love for the Astros hackers?
Not happening.
We did have
tonight.
a question in the chat, and basically Dirty wants to know why all the Santana love, because he's been crap all year. So I'd like to hear Derek's interpretation of the Santana love.
I mean, yeah, he hasn't been that great this year, but he's still a good player. The matchup today is really favorable. You know, the performance to this point has lowered his price, so he's batting cleanup tonight. I'm completely fine with Santana. I think he's a good play. I think he's a talented player who just is off to a slow start.
Yeah, I mean, you look at, he's batting from the left side, 193 ISO, career ISO from the left side, 343 WOBA. Price is deflated because he hasn't been playing very well throughout the year. I think he's a good option.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's who I'm going to use. I forget who's in my FanDuel lineup right now. But I can get on board with Santana. I have Ploufin right now. I think I would prefer him to Santana, basically for the reasons of what people are saying in chat, is that there's something going on with Santana this year where his performance is not up to his career averages quite yet. then again, that is a little short-sighted. But I think we can probably talk about outfielders because I think there are a lot of choices with outfield tonight, depending on if you want to use the Dodgers guys. And again, so if you are spending at several positions, you use Ortiz, you use one of the more expensive catchers. You're gonna have to make some choices. You're gonna have to find an outfield punt who's gonna get you some points since there is gonna be so many. Since there is going to be so much overlap. But the guy that jumped off to me right away was Mitch Moreland versus Scott Feldman. Basically, he's always underpriced, but he has such a big platoon split as a batter. Are you on Moreland tonight, Tuttle?
Not especially. I don't mind it. I was on him a couple nights ago. I forget who he was facing then. Feldman's actually a reverse splits pitcher, so he is a little better against the lefties than he is righties. And you have to always deal with Moreland either getting pinch hit for or pinch run for late in the game. So that's something you have to worry about there, which is kind of his price isn't too high, so it mitigates some of the risk there. But I think there's better places to go.
Yeah. What about you, Cardi?
Yeah, I mean, I think Moreland, he's okay, but I don't know. I think there's better options. He's batting 6th tonight, which is kind of like that cutoff point. You'd rather see him in the top 5. I don't think Feldman is terrible. You know, there's, like Tuttle was saying, pinch hit risk later in the game. He's all right. He's an option, but not towards the top of my list.
Like a guy I just looked up would be like Grady Sizemore, who's batting 5th, who you can get for like a similar price to Mitch Moreland. I think he's a much better option.
Yeah, I like Sizemore a pretty lot tonight. I like the Dodgers outfielders, Ethier and Crawford, whoever's in the lineup. The Cleveland guys, Brantley, Murphy, even Bourne.
Yeah, I think Murphy's a
Bourne
really
to a
solid
lesser
option.
extent, but yeah. I think Snyder is a good option tonight. He's leading off for Pittsburgh, huge park shift, platoon advantage. I think he's a good lower priced option.
Yeah, he's actually super cheap.
Mm-hmm.
He's minimum priced on FanDuel, I believe.
Yeah.
As far as what about expensive options? Say someone does decide to fade Tanaka. What is a more expensive outfield option? Would you like either of the Yankees guys, Gardner or Ellsbury, Tuttle?
Oh, if we're going expensive, why not go expensive? Let's go Stanton.
Stanton?
Homecoming.
Yeah, homecoming series, if you're into that sort of motivational thing. But other than that, it's just a good matchup for him. I mean, any left-handed pitching is a good matchup for him, no matter the merits of the pitcher. But Mahomes average to below average, in my opinion, so it's a good matchup if you want to spend on outfield.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's getting a bit of a park bump there, platoon advantage against, a weakish pitcher. I think Stanton's the top play overall today for sure. I think Chu is another good, or another solid, higher priced option. I'm fine with Ellsbury tonight if you want to spend on him against Montero. Yeah, so those are my higher priced guys.
Okay. I think I can get on board with that. I think Sinshu Chu versus Feldman leading off with the platoon advantage deserves, because he's a little bit cheaper. He'd be like $600, $700 cheaper than Stanton on FanDuel. So I think that he deserves a mention at least. Although that Rangers lineup has just been so disappointing this year that it's just hard to put yourself in a position where you're spending a lot of money for one of those guys. And I don't know what's going on with that lineup. I don't know if there's some age-related decline from Fielder or if the offense just hasn't gotten started yet, but they've just been so gross. Guaranteed dongs time?
Does anybody know, and somebody in chat might know, I'm trying to figure out, because we're getting a lot of guys saying Braun in chat, which he does have a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, Braun's decent.
But I'm wondering, trying to look back through box scores. Is there a reason why he got removed from the game, his first game back? Does anybody know? Looks like he only got 3 at bats in, 0 for 2 with a walk. But then Chris Davis looks like went in for him. So I'm just trying to figure out if there was a reason for that we're missing out. Because I am a little more hesitant sometimes on guys coming back from the DL. Like to see him put a few good games in before.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. So, and I can do, when we get off air, I can go look around and see if I can find anything for you.
Strollo says it looks like just said he wouldn't play a whole game, nor no other reason than cautionary. So that's good info to see. Make sure you're looking that sort of thing up to see how they're planning on using him in tonight's game.
All right, right on. Well, it's guaranteed dongs time, and we'll do the one obvious one, and then under the radar dongs, of course. We'll start with Tuttle. Tuttle, who's your obvious dong?
Why not go with Stanton?
Yeah, that's who I wanted.
That's who I wanted also.
You gotta.
Am I doing an obvious one now, or is it
Yep,
Tuttle's?
now it's you, because Tuttle
Okay.
doesn't know who he wants to pick for under the radar. I don't think.
All right, I guess then.
Go ahead, Derek.
Derek, all right. You know what? If it's not Stanton, I'm gonna split it between Poppy and Alvarez. You know, one of those two. Or you know what? I'll guarantee both.
Oh snap!
Oh, all right.
And Pedro's actually pretty aggressive, depending on his. He was going to be my under the radar. So you got that one from me. So now I need to find someone else.
My obvious one. I don't know how obvious this is, but I'm gonna go Brett Gardner. That's gonna be my more obvious one, and then my under the radar one.
Is he gonna get it inside the Parker?
Yeah, that's definitely not an obvious one.
Short porch, man.
They're in New York.
Eric
They're
Young,
Mets.
whatever. I don't care.
Down the
Eric
road.
Young Jr. hit a home run. I watched it happen. Anything can happen. I meant Ellsbury.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you
Sorry. It's been a long day. And then my under the radar one is gonna be Trevor Plouffe. I think that he probably gets one tonight. Cause Dubront. Under the radar, Tuttle.
Oh man. Let's go. I'm gonna have to go with a Cleveland Indian. Hey, why not go Nick Swisher?
Okay, good, because I was gonna go an Indian. I'm gonna go David Murphy. So yeah. The thing about Swisher, I'm pretty sure he's like a pretty extreme platoon guy in the other direction. So let me see. Yeah, he hits lefties significantly better than he hits righties. Just FYI.
For those listening. What? And that's because of the. Let me see, because I didn't think he was that big of a difference, but I'm sure you have the whole, because you had the regression to it, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a close to a 30-point WOBA difference between them.
Oh, it is a big difference. That's my bad.
Are we talking about models? We got to get graphic for when we have.
Yeah, he hits. I think you have that in reverse though, Derek.
Do I?
Or no? I'm looking at Fangraphs. It's interesting because his WOBA is extremely different. Against righties, he's a 346 WOBA versus lefties 372. But then against lefties, his ISO is 175. Against righties, his ISO is 217.
That's interesting.
So it's crazy. He's a guy that just all over the place, I guess.
Yeah, I don't have ISO listed here. I just have WOBA and batting average and OPS, and they're all tilted towards, preferring lefties.
Yeah, and Dink brings up ISO's probably inflated from his days in New York, which I'm sure is probably true.
Gordon Beckham could have just made my day, but that ball was 4 feet to the left, so that's frustrating. But we need to talk about this elite draft, Huddle. We need to talk about how you just murdered me. Because
I did, because I got McCutcheon too.
I don't care about that. You got Tanaka. I was emotionally and morally deflated after I realized that you had Tanaka. There was just nothing. There's nothing I could do after that. There's no coming back from that. Although I do think that you made a mistake not grabbing Peralta when you could. I don't know how many times we need to see the results bear themselves out before people realize you have to go 2 pitchers. You have to do it. It's like
the night that, like when I beat Laffy.
Oh, like the night when I have beaten everyone by like 1,000,000 points. I beat Kitchen by 77 points last night.
That was an auto
Laffy
draft. We
went
weren't
2
even
pitchers,
drafting with that.
Points.
Davis, you did. I did though. My pitchers went off yesterday, and
So did mine.
Well, mine were much better than yours. I had Minor and Price, And basically, you still won because of your bats. Like, pitching is not everything.
You get like 30 points. Well, let me make the argument to you this way. On DraftKings, you have 2 pitcher slots. If you could not use one of those pitcher slots and just use them for a hitter, would you? Absolutely not. You would never do that in a million years. Would you, Kitchen?
It depends on the slate. Like, if you have first pick and you pick a pitcher and then there's only 3 viable pitchers for that slate, the another guy takes 2 pitchers, you don't want to pick a pitcher just to pick a pitcher, because if there's only 3 viable pitchers, that means there's a lot of bats out there. So you want to take some of the heavy bats. So that's where I'm coming from. You don't pick a pitcher. I mean, one pitcher, yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
Have to pick 2 pitchers?
You don't.
Nah.
I always pick 2. I love the nah wave. I always pick 2 on Elite, just because I think that that's the correct way to go. I think it gives you the best chance to get some amount of points. Like, hitters will get you zeros or minuses a lot of the times, unless a pitcher goes out and Tyler Lyons is it. They're going to get you like at least like 5 points. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with that. Do you have this draft pulled up right now?
I don't. I think Grant is away, so you'll just basically list the teams so we can hear them.
Okay, well, Tuttle took Tanaka, and then I auto-drafted Carlos Gomez, and I just dropped him. I wanted to get Chu, which is why I drafted a $5,000 player with my last pick, but then Tuttle picked Sin-Shu Chu with his last pick. So I have Ike Davis, Everth Cabrera, don't know why I have him, auto-draft, Beltre, Travis Snyder, Ellsbury, Gardner, Castro, Lucroy, and Willie Peralta, and Tuttle has Elvis Andrus, Prince Fielder, Pedro Alvarez, Ryan Braun, McCutcheon, Chu, McCann. Oh, you're going to kill me. Oh, I'm going to lose by so many points tonight. Yeah, good game. All right.
We should increase the stakes on it.
Yeah, we should not. We should cancel this game, like, immediately. I'm going to lose so bad. I hate losing at Elite, too. Because everyone gets to see it because Grant always tweets it out from the account. Super embarrassing. Can't imagine how Dink must have felt that night that he got beat by like 95. All right. Anything else you want to talk about, Kitchen? We good?
I mean, I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, it's a show. It's kind of a gross slate, but we're degens, so we're playing anyways.
Where to make that money, though?
Alrighty. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. Tomorrow will be another fun show with. I can't be serious when you're doing that. Okay.
Who is?
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Napster Man and Mr. Tuttle 05 will be joining Davis, and we'll have a good old time. Later, guys.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Tuttle.